Hello everyone, welcome to another segment of intellectual brainstorming and academic excellence. My name is David Oni and my YouTube channel is David Oni. We want to use this medium to say a very big thank you to our returning subscribers, and if you have not subscribed to our video, please subscribe now. We need a subscription, and please don't forget to leave a comment on how to serve you better. You will agree with me that this lecture has been inspiring, has been edifying, it has been building up people, in their area of finances and knowledge. So today we're going to look at something different, something dynamic, as we have always been doing, something that can actually help you to become somebody in life. And I'll be looking at the factors to consider if you want to become a millionaire or a billionaire. And if you actually want to retire well, or you want to become a millionaire or a billionaire in the future, it is quite imperative that or indispensable that you follow some factors that will actually help you to become that person you actually wanted to become in life. And based on that, I'll be talking about time, return, and money. Time, return, and money. Now, these three factors are very important. They are indispensable. They are very, very important. And I'll quickly, go through them because of our time. And now let's go to the first one, which is time. You see, in life, time is very essential. Time is very important. Time is an important thing because once you use the time, you can never redeem it back in life. So, if you're actually planning to become a millionaire, then you have to look into this issue of a lot of time. Time is how long are you willing to invest your money. If we are talking about investment is not something of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years. We are talking about what? A long-term prospect. We are talking about what? Something that takes a longer period of time. And because it takes a longer period of time, it requires your patience. You need to be very patient if you actually want to invest your money. So time is how long are you willing to invest your money? And the longer the time, the better your plan. So if you have a plan for a longer period of time, it is very good for you because it will afford you the opportunity to make your money to grow for you. And when you are talking about time also, the amount of money you are putting into that investment is also very important. In other words, you have to consistently and regularly put money, maybe depending on your plan, maybe every week or every month or quarterly, depending on your plan. So it is something that you have to do consistently. So if the faster you grow your money, the wealthier you actually become. So the amount of money you actually invest in your investment portfolio really matters, or it goes a very long way. So the time for investment is now, because the sooner you invest, the better or more time for your money to actually will grow for you over a period of time. So investment is something that what you have to do for a longer period of time. So you need number two now, which is what I call the return. You need what we call return. Now, what do I mean by that return? You need to be able to manage your risk. If you are not a risk taker, then investment, like I always say, is not for you. So there is a risk versus the reward. It's either you gain or what, or you lose. So there is what we call the risk versus the reward, and I'm going to explain that so that I can actually understand what I mean by the risk versus the reward. So what I'm saying here is that you need what we call a financial education. You need to know where to invest your money, when to sell your stock, where to invest your money, and how to have what we call investment strategy. So financial education, financial knowledge is very, very imperative when you talk about a return in terms of what? In terms of risk versus what we call a return. So there is every probability that if you are not careful, you might lose your money. And there is every probability that if you invest right, you can also what? Earn something at the end of the day. You can have what we call a higher return. Now I will explain two factors here when we're talking about what? The risk versus the return strategy. Now, when you talk about this factor, there are two things I will talk about: active and what, and passive strategy. Active and what, and passive strategy. I'll start with the first one, which I call the passive strategy. Now, when you're talking about passive strategy, you're talking about here, you need to find what you want to invest your money into, and you need to do what I call what? You need to keep putting money into that thing that which you have invested your money into. For example, you can invest in what I call the S&P 500. You can invest your money into what I call the Nasdaq. You can also invest your money in what I call Dow Jones. You understand now? S&P 500, Dow Jones, or what, or Nasdaq. Here, your money can go over an average of what, of 10% per annum. 10% per annum. In fact, passive strategy is what I'm also doing, because when you talk about passive strategy, it does not really need a lot of education, financial statement, a lot of education, financial education, and the rest of them. All you need to do is to put your money into somewhere, and you regularly continue to put your money into that portfolio investment, and over time that money will begin to form what I call compounded money for you. It will continue to grow over a period of time. And when you talk about the passive strategy, you need to continuously put money into that investment. Yeah, you cannot lose your money because the risk is very, very, very low. And apart from that, it is a conglomeration of companies. A conglomeration of companies. We are talking about a list of companies, like I mentioned, S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the Dow Jones. So there is also the real estate in this area of what the passive strategy is. It has what we call low risk. It has what we call low risk. The risk is very, very low compared to the second one, which I call an active strategy. Now, the second one is what we call active strategy. Now, what do you mean by active strategy? In active strategy, here you need to invest in what? In individual companies. Individual companies. Now, you need to know what you are actually investing in. So, when you talk about active strategy involves what we call financial education. You need to be financially sound. You need to know or understand the companies. You need to know what the list towards what earnings. You need to study the financial history of the company. You need to study the profit and loss of the company. You need to study the income statement. You need to study what the balance sheets. You need to know what I call what the cash flow statement. You need to know the revenue and the expenditure of the company. You need to know the executive structure of the company and the innovation of the companies. So when you talk about the active strategy, it involves what financial education. You need to have what we call financial education or financial knowledge. So I will advise as an investor that if you actually want to invest your money, then you should take what I call the passive strategy, because the passive strategy in terms of risk, the risk is very, very, very low. Then in terms of return, you have a fixed return per annum. Maybe it can be above 10% or be lesser than, but it cannot come below to the extreme where the percentage which you earn per annum will be so low, irrespective of whether the company, or because here you have a conglomeration of companies. So your money is actually safe under the passive strategy compared to the active strategy, because under active strategy the risk is very, very high, and apart from that, the revenue or what you get at the end of the day might also be higher, but the risk is very, very high under what we call the active strategy. So I will advise on what we call a passive strategy. So if you don't have much idea about how to trade, on how to financial statement and all those financial rudimentary knowledge about how to deal on this, don't put your money on the active strategy. You can go for what we call the passive strategy. So active strategy, you need to know a lot of things. You need financial education, and the risk and the return can be higher. So the risk can be higher, also the return can also be higher. So these factors, which I call time, which I call return and money, are very, very indispensable when you actually want to invest your money in investment portfolio. Like what I'm doing right now is I do on what we call a passive strategy, because my knowledge for now in terms of financial education, in terms of investment, in terms of monitoring the financial statement of these companies, the executive structures and the financial statement, the income, cash flows and the rest of them, I'm not so versatile in it. So I will go for something I'm actually doing something about that I actually have an idea about. So, and what is that? The passive strategy, where I put money every month into that investment portfolio. And I can bet you that if you do this, you will never regret it. Last year, I made 10% of my total investment in my my portfolio. And what I actually did was I reinvested the money back into into my investment portfolio. And every time I put money into that investment portfolio, and as I'm putting that money, the interest is also going up every day. So I'm getting my money every day, returns every day on my investment portfolio. So if you actually want to become a millionaire or a billionaire this year, then you have to consider the time, the return, and the money. So when you talk about the time, it is a long-term investment. Then when you talk about the return can be risky, and the return can also be higher. But if you actually want to keep your money in terms of of how much I want to invest in the investment or the portfolio, then I would advise for you to go for the passive strategy if you don't have an idea about the investment system or how it is being done, or when your financial education is not up to that task, because it involves a lot of time, it involves a lot of energy, it involves a lot of research, it involves a lot of information and the rest of them to actually engage in in active strategy. Then you also need money for you to invest your money. I mean, for you to go into investment and portfolio, you need the money. You need to fund that investment portfolio every time on regular basis. But like I told you, investment what is not something of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months, or 5 months. It involves for so many years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. And at the end of the day, you can actually now retire as a millionaire, or within a period of time, you can become a millionaire or a billionaire. A lot of people are already in the millionaires club. Join the millionaires club and stop spending your money on their liabilities this year. This is 2024. Don't spend your money on liabilities, on things that will not get any return for you. Spend your money where your money will grow more money for you. And at the end of the day, you retire as well as a billionaire or as a millionaire. Remember, all those big boys that you are seeing today, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, and all these big boys, Warren Buffett, all these guys, like talking about all these millionaires that we're seeing today, Ali, Dangote, Mike Adenuga, and the rest of these guys, they started from somewhere. Start also to build your future today. On this note, I will end my lecture on the factor that we need to consider before you can become a millionaire or a billionaire. Till we meet next time, thank you so much. If you never subscribe, go subscribe. And if you've not been watching our videos, make it a watcher. Then apart from that, leave your comment on how to serve you better. And also don't forget to share our videos to our numerous viewers out there that these videos can actually help. And don't forget that if you actually want to become a millionaire, the journey starts from today. Time is of essence, and time waits for no man. For our returning subscriber, we say a very big thank you. Keep watching our videos and keep making money. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. Bye bye.